radio correspondent and analyst Stacey Siegel and Brandon Holt, joining us live from Washington on Talk Politics. Thanks for joining us here on the program. All right, so let's get straight away into the Republican side of the Super Tuesday, the wins for Trump and other candidates. We were talking about the Democrats after the break. So go ahead and tell us about the...
Okay, well, it was very interesting results because some of it was completely obvious and expected. Everyone knew that Trump was going to win, which he did. But there were some surprises that people didn't expect. Cruz only actually won 3 states. He won Oklahoma, Texas, which was his home state, and he better win that state, and Alaska. And the interesting thing about Alaska was that he had Sarah Palin advocating him in Alaska, and so, you know, they thought regardless that she's not that popular there and he wouldn't be able to win, but he did win Alaska. It was also the most interesting that Trump did really well on some of these border states where there's a huge Hispanic population. If you look at Nevada, there's like 45% Hispanic. If you look at California, that actually had the largest Hispanic population of about 14 million Latinos. I think there's also a misconception in America that the majority of Latinos are immigrants. That's absolutely a misnomer and a falsehood. The truth is only say 10 to 15% of that entire Latino population is not an American citizen. So I think that when you look at the immigrants, they can't vote anyway. That hasn't even been discussed. They're not even eligible to vote because they're not U.S. citizens. And when you look at Nevada and New Mexico and these other states that have like 45% Latino population, those people actually, it was shocking that a lot of them voted for Trump. You had like 35% vote for Trump, about 24 for Cruz, and then about 21 for Rubio. So everybody was shocked because they thought because he was going to build the wall in Mexico that they were going to be, furious and never going to win the vote. A lot of the speculation about that is that the immigrants and the Latino population, they don't want the Mexican immigrants coming in and taking their jobs. I mean, think about it. It makes perfect sense. If you are an American Latino citizen, you've got jobs maybe in construction or the fields or, obviously some of them are like house cleaning and more menial jobs that other Americans don't want to do. But the truth is that these immigrants, the Mexican immigrants that are coming across the border, are more likely to take their jobs. So I do think there was a surge in support for Trump that was completely unexpected and shocking. So, there were a lot of interesting things that transpired about the actual Super Tuesday.
Well, I would say that in terms of predictions, everybody thought Trump's going to win every state but Texas for obvious reasons. Cruz's home state. However, he also won Oklahoma. That was a little bit of a surprise. And he won Alaska, which nobody really saw coming. And no one saw Marco Rubio winning Minnesota. So although it was a good night for Donald Trump, his margins were lower than expected, particularly in Massachusetts. He's losing steam to what he's had. Now, it's true. He has a commanding lead. He's starting to pull away anyways. But it does show you that in some of the more moderate states, it's possible, at least for somebody like Cruz or Rubio, to hang in there at least maybe a month or so. Although, I mean, by and large, there's a clear front runner. Donald Trump is just flat out unstoppable by this point.
Right. And March 15th is going to show that for sure, the next major step.
That's right.
But I think at this point, everybody's focusing on what's going to happen in the big picture in the general election. I think very soon you're going to see, more and more of the Clinton lead as we go along. If you look at a lot of the statistics and the demographics, even from sources like U.S. News, CNN, Fox, Survey USA, Gallup polls, NBC News, I'm talking the most reliable sources in the country. When you look at their polls, especially from Gallup polls, which are super reliable, and the AP, you've got 10 of the most reliable. They're looking at Clinton getting as much as 52% and of the vote. I mean, that's huge. We're talking in undecided voters, you have a very small percent. When you're talking about the Electoral College, all that really is the census. So we're talking about the total population. And when you look at the difference between Trump's votes and Clinton's votes, she's got all the major states except for Texas. I mean, that's the biggest, most populated state that he's projected to win. I mean, if you look at it unanimously, she's the winner from about the projections 294 to 244. And the biggest possible number of electoral votes is 538. So the minimum you have to have is over 270. So I mean, she's winning by a huge margin. I mean, he is going to call the rape crisis center. He's going to be in trouble.
As I was going back to saying earlier, it's kind of very sad in how undemocratic the system is set up to be in the Democratic Party, with particularly superdelegates. Hillary Clinton is still probably going to win, but it may go a lot longer than people expect to. Primarily because although he lost a lot of states on Super Tuesday last night, the key distinction was, A, those were conservative states that were generally for Hillary to begin with. They were lock states. I mean, Vermont, sure, but Arkansas was a lock state for Hillary. She got less than Bernie did in Vermont anyways. Two, he was projected already to have those kind of numbers in Alabama, Georgia, Arkansas, I was saying earlier.
But those numbers are inconsequential. They make up like 2%.
So
of the
where
electoral
he
college.
won, particularly, were in states that were actually Democratic. For example, in Minnesota or in Colorado. So it was showing that March 15th, and definitely afterwards, the key distinction is after March 15th, you have a lot of states that are favorable for Bernie. And once those go, he wins all of those delegates. He wins by 0.1%. He wins all of it. So the key thing is he can come right back storming in there once you have states like California, and once you have states particularly to fill out the Northeast, the Midwest, where Bernie, and the West Coast, where Bernie is winning.
Again, that's going to be
He's
completely
finishing out
inconsequential.
the South. The South, the Bible Belt, he gets smoked. But you know what? That's over. The worst possible point of his campaign is off.
The question is moot. I mean, you've heard that before. Because she's dominating him. You know, Super Tuesday was just an example. I think you know further and further. It's going to be a Clinton
in
race.
Vermont,
And just a minute. We're talking, you know, she has large states that make up like a huge percentage of the electoral college. States like California and states like New York, New Jersey, where they have like 25 members of the electoral college and votes. We're talking, you know, as much as...
Bernie's going to win New Jersey.
Well, it's not going to be Bernie. It's going to be Clinton. It's
Yeah.
absolutely going to be Clinton, there's no question, versus Trump. I mean, absolutely no poll puts
Probably.
Bernie at any point ahead of Hillary to win the Democratic
Overall?
nomination. And
Okay.
obviously every poll
In
has
terms
been
of,
true.
no, probability in terms of who would win based off of superdelegates is a different story than polls and who general voters want to win.
Well, statistics don't lie, people do. And if you look at the actual statistics from the polls, Trump is winning states like
Statistics-
Tennessee, Kentucky, you know, South Dakota.
So the
with
primary
3.
things, such as superdelegates, which are completely undemocratic, allow in favor of Hillary where you have endorsements. Oh, by the way, those endorsements can change. You said it yourself moments ago, although in polls nationally, not particularly in states such as Alabama, but nationally among Democrats, which there really aren't in Alabama, you have a huge amount of support for Bernie. He's now up 52 to 48% on the national scale, meaning
That's
you
actually
go,
the
but-
opposite.
But you go, where is that coming in? Where are his support coming in? It's those remaining states. All the states that hate him are done. The states that are traditionally Caucasian, liberal voters are coming up next. They voted solidly for Bernie Sanders. You look at Vermont and New Hampshire. What's your explanation there? Hillary got
That's the
smoked.
size of
The thing
Roswell,
is,
Georgia.
but that's the
It's
thing.
in-
Those states
consequential.
are what's coming up next. What's coming up next are those states, and on top of that, he wins all the delegates there, meaning he gets huge momentum coming afterwards. Just like Hillary did in the South, Bernie's gonna get it everywhere else.
Well, the thing is, it's not like horseshoes. You know, you win or you lose, and she's winning. Those are the facts. And it's actually the opposite, according to the source I gave you, that it's, you know, it's 52 to 48. So she is actually has the lead, and she won. So everything else is going to be inconsequential. You know, places that he won, like, you know, these tiny states like New Hampshire and Vermont. I mean, you could put Vermont inside of this room. I mean, that is an itty bitty sector of the population and has nothing to do with the larger vote. So I think it's an absolute, you know, it's a waste of
I'm
time
not
to talk
saying
about him
Vermont's
winning.
large, but the reason as to why is what's the remainder of his percentage? If a state such as Vermont makes up only so much, yet he has such a large national percentage.
But
The
not as high as
answer-
she does. That's
but
like
the
being a little
answer-
bit pregnant.
The answer
you know?
is that he maintains leads in some of the upcoming Super Tuesday states that haven't been represented yet.
On the 15th, we're going to find out for sure. But I mean, it's projected he's going to get
But
more
he's
than-
winning handingly in the 15 states.
Right. All right, and when we come back, we're going to have more politics to talk.